Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna Nama Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityor ma mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, who came to establish religion universal, the embodiment of all religions in the world, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today's topic I have chosen: beware of deadly enemy within. Beware of deadly enemy within. Anger. There are many enemies within our heart which are trying to devour us in our careless moments. If those enemies become strong, then the person is totally ruined. So it is very important to be aware of these dreadful enemies causing harm to our personality. So, the spiritual teachers always tell us to develop positively all the noble virtues such as patience, perseverance, devotion to God, to be desireless in the sense not to hanker after the worldly pleasures. So one has to struggle sincerely developing all these virtues. Then certainly you will be able to confront the enemy within successfully. All help will come to you. You will feel tremendously how the Divine Supreme is showing His grace and how He is helping you to eradicate the enemy within. Sri Ramakrishna has given many references regarding this dreadful enemy, anger. He says in the Gospel, it is not lust alone that one should be afraid of in the life of the world. There is also anger. Anger arises when obstacles are placed in the way of desire. Sri Ramakrishna says further, money is also a great upadhi. The possession of money makes such a difference in a person. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. A frog had a rupee coin which he kept in his hole. One day, an elephant was going over the hole, and the frog, coming out in a fit of anger, raised its foot as if to kick the elephant and said, "How dare you walk over my head?" Such is the pride that money begets. The humble person becomes egoistic when he is possessed with disproportionate wealth. So he indulges in all vices. So money used in a negative way is destructive to the person. Sri Ramakrishna says again, lust and anger are sharks and crocodiles. Sharks and crocodiles. Very dangerous. Sri Ramakrishna said, anger is the characteristic of tamas. Through it, one loses one's wit and can't tell right from wrong. So that is the nature of the anger, which is making its abode in our heart. A person succumbing to anger commits all sorts of crimes. He indulges in violence, hatred, all sorts of things. And finally, he kills himself. His whole human personality is defaced, totally removed. He is no more a human being under the grip of anger. He becomes virtually a demon. Anger is a problem in every part of everyday life. From the roadway to the workplace to the home. Anger directly and indirectly affects our health. Anger is almost always a destructive emotion. The first person damaged by your anger is you. You can, if you choose, reduce the amount of anger in your life. As you reduce the amount of anger, your quality of life improves. Why are we angry? Only because someone or something is standing in the way. Why are we angry? Only because someone or something is standing in the way of what we think to be the object of our enjoyment. This is the only reason for all our anger. Always we find that anger is closely connected with an overstressed ego or a strong sense of personality. Without this strong sense of the ego and an inordinate desire for enjoyment, physical and mental, anger could never even rise in our hearts. So, this ego, this desire for pleasures, is the only cause of our becoming angry. We do not desire any pleasures. If we do not expect anything from anybody, but just give and act without ever expecting any return, there can never be any rise of anger. So, we should get angry with our anger and not with others. We should get terribly angry with our desires for pleasures and not with the objects as such. The only practical way is to sublimate anger and eventually eliminate it. And without eliminating anger and other associated evils to a great extent, we can never make any progress in spiritual life. Lust and anger are the two greatest enemies in the spiritual path. So, they should be carefully avoided by all spiritual seekers. Now, these are the words expressed by Swami Chidananda. How clearly he has stated the nature of anger. Lord Krishna also says very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, verse number 62, Jayato Vishayan Pumsah Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for those objects. From that attachment, desire develops, and from that desire, anger, the drift of passion arises. When a person thinks of the beauty and the pleasant and alluring features of the sense objects, he becomes attached to them. He then regards them as something worthy of acquisition and possession and hankers after them. He develops a strong desire to possess them. Then he endeavors his level best to obtain them. When his desire is frustrated by some cause or other, anger arises in his mind. If anybody puts any obstruction in his way of obtaining the objects, then he hates him, fights with him, and develops hostility towards him. In the next verse, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 63, Lord Krishna continues to say, Krodhat bhavati sammohat, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smrtirbhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. From anger, losing one's order, one gets illusioned, and from illusion the memory gets bewildered. With the memory disturbed, one loses one's intelligence, and from that loss of intelligence one falls down. When intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. From anger arises delusion. When a man becomes angry, what happens? He loses his power of discrimination between right and wrong. He will speak and do anything he likes. He will be swept away by the impulse of passion and emotion and will act irrationally. So, in order to check this ugly rising of anger, one should cultivate patience. Patience, it is the greatest penance. It is a soul force. Only a strong person can be patient. If we force certain things when the time is not right enough, then we fritter away our energy. Try we must. Then we should allow things to happen. God is the greatest penance. Meditate on God and develop patience. An irritable mind is a sign of weakness. It is a sign of weakness. Constant moving of limbs and swinging the body to and fro is a sign of weakness. Drink deep the nectar of wisdom. Cultivate calmness. Engage the mind in useful works and meditate on holy, lofty thoughts. Success and peace come to a person of patience and perseverance. So, develop patience. To be patient is not to be lazy. To be patient is to work hard with right means and pure motives and never to get excited or anxious for the results. As Bhagavad Gita puts it, to work you have the right, but not to the fruits thereof. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Of course, the fruit shall be infinite when you do not desire it. The mind should be saturated with the philosophy of action. Then it will offer its best in action and wait patiently and happily for things to happen. When causes are present, effects take care of themselves. Peace and happiness follow a person of patience. It is a divine virtue. Develop patience. Things done in a hurry lack perfection. Hurry causes worry. Hear what others have to say, but reserve your judgment. Get ready, but wait for the call. Sow the seed, nourish it, but do not dig it out every day to see what is happening. Think noble thoughts, act wisely, speak the truth, speak kind words, love everyone, give and forgive, then see what happens. Do not be after name or fame. Do not be anxious about what others think about you. Are you satisfied with yourself? That's what's important. So develop patience. That's very important. That's one of the effective way to counteract the danger of anger. Excited emotions cause anxiety. Anxiety destroys peace and happiness. It is a desire for the fruit of one's efforts that excites the emotions. It is the idea of future happiness that destroys the happiness which exists now. So, calming the emotions is a way to cultivate patience. If you purify the emotion, then it is calmed. Meditation and prayer are the ways to purify emotion. Meditate every day, pray every hour, continue a prayerful thought every minute. By this, the strength of the Spirit will be developed in you. It is this strength that gives you patience. Develop patience, therefore. When you know that God loves you, you need not be impatient, for the good God shall never let you down. Suppose He sends some obstacles, it is to test your patience. We should consider difficulties as blessings in disguise. They chisel our irritated mind and make us strong. Depend on God for strength. Know that He has created you for a great purpose. Know that you should be prepared to stand in the presence of God at the appointed hour. So develop patience. Impatience causes anger. Anger destroys memory by clouding the intellect. Anger destroys peace and happiness. It not only pollutes the whole atmosphere, but drains the energy of the angry man himself. Even as a fire born of wood consumes the wood itself, so does anger consume the person who is angry. Transform anger energy into patience. Just like a deep breath. Just what you have to do, take a deep breath and relax. Whenever you lose patience and are about to become angry, Walk in the garden for a while and think about the horrible consequences of anger and the great blessings of patience and love. So develop patience. There are times when quick decisions are to be taken. There are times that demand quick actions. This does not mean that you must act impatiently. Instead, a man who has developed patience due to that reserve energy is capable of quick decisions and quick actions whenever such a course is important. You can't wait patiently when a house is burning and a person is drowning. You may have to act quickly, but that does not mean that you should lose patience. If you do, then you will burn yourself or drown yourself instead of saving the situation. Patience gives you the power of right decisions and quick actions whenever they are called for. So, develop patience. Patience to be successful in anything in life should be something like you can't wait, but you should wait. If you just wait without proper thinking and prompt actions, then you will get nothing. If you can't wait, then you will be sorry for your hurry, which will cause a great loss. It should be something like the parents waiting with impatient patience for the baby to come. It should be something like a devotee telling God, I can't wait to see you, but I should. There's a joy in I can't wait, because it is a sadhana or discipline needed for the realization. There's also joy in knowing I should wait, because you know definitely that the sunrise follows the dawn. Your pining shall be followed by the vision. So, develop patience. Patience, patience. In Sri Krishna's teachings, we have a complete system for overcoming anger, as it is based on a sound psychology and includes disciplines which all can practice, whatever be one's religious denomination. Lord Krishna says, know that this is our enemy here, all devouring and cause of all sin. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidhenimiha vairinam. That's the verse said by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. One of the traits of delusion and ignorance is that we tend to take an enemy for a friend and a friend for an enemy. So Sri Krishna instructs us to mark out anger as a direct enemy and treat it as such. Otherwise, anger overcomes us with the aid of our willing and liberal help. As we always get angry at any pretext, anger has become our friend by familiarity or association. Whenever we come under the power of anger, we become deluded. Whatever we do in delusion will hurt us today or tomorrow. Delusion affects thinking, distorting memory, and we forget the important lessons of life we may have already learned. Then we act like an ignorant person driven by viparita bhavana, contrary understanding. Forgetting the lessons of wisdom, we are deprived of the saving services of our own intellect and rush to do things in a manner harmful to ourselves. Anger thus becomes an effective internal saboteur. The words and actions prompted by anger are very forceful because those are directly connected with the source of energy within us, which is desire. We must remember that any source of energy embedded in the psychophysical system of a person is significant. Anger will have to be overcome in a manner that does not injure the energy resources. While the elemental force of fire is vital, we can't allow free movement of fire in our houses. Same way anger also. Overcoming anger will therefore mean separating the energy source in a person from its destructive aspect without destroying the power source itself. Every iota of power embedded in the system is needed for bringing about self-transformation. In Hindu thought, emasculation is never considered to be an appropriate means to effect one's self-regeneration. It is also noteworthy that in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna utters in the same breath Kama, Krodha, Lobha, desire, anger and greed as the three gates to hell. Trividham Narakadwaram. These are the three Narakadwaram, ways to hell. Kam, Krodha and Lobh, desire, anger and greed. These emotions are psychologically interlinked, originating as they do from Rajas. Again Lord Krishna says, it is desire, it is anger, born of the energy of Rajas, born of the energy or Rajas, all devouring, all sinful, that you must know as your foe, your enemy here. Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyanime Vairinam. That is the meaning. That is the verse. In his commentary on this verse, Shankaracharya writes, the enemy of the whole world is desire, from which all evil comes to living beings. When obstructed by some cause, desire is transformed into anger. Then anger is desire itself. It is born of the energy of Rajas, for when desire arises, it rouses Rajas and urges the person to action. We often hear the cry of miserable persons under the impulse of Rajas, saying, I have been led to act so by desire. It is very sinful, for it is only when urged by desire that a person commits sin. Therefore, know that this desire is man's enemy in samsara. Thus we can deduce that anger is inextricably linked to the other baser instincts in a person and can't be tackled in isolation. Once a devotee asked Swami Chidananda, the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Master, kindly make my mind free from desire. What the Swami said in reply is illuminating. Swami Chidananda said, look to the Atman, not to the body. Practice fixing the mind on the Atman. One gets attached to the objects by constantly thinking of them. From attachment comes longing, and from longing anger. Swami Chidananda regarded anger as concentrated desire. It makes one lose one's head completely. Mere desire does not so absolutely overwhelm the mind. He said, never think of transient things. That way you can escape attachments. Swami Chidananda quoted Sri Ramakrishna's words, keeping the palate and lust under control, you may live anywhere. He then remarked that lust and greed are the source of man's troubles. We have an interesting incident in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with regard to the control of the passions. When Sri Chaitanya went to Keshav Bharati for initiation into sannyas, the Guru remarked, well, you are in the bloom of youth and so surprisingly handsome. Who will be bold enough to initiate you into sannyasa? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, sir, you usually examine an aspirant before initiating him into sannyasa. If you find me qualified, you may naturally feel inclined to initiate me also. So, please examine and see if I am fit for it. He offers himself to be examined. Keshav Bharati said to Chaitanya, put out your tongue. The disciple protruded his tongue. Then Keshav Bharati put some sugar. The sugar remained there as it was, dry, without being moistened in the least, and was then scattered by the wind and was blown out. There was then no need to examine the passions of lust in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is taught, when the hankering of palate is controlled, everything else is controlled. Proceeding further, Swami Chidananda said, throughout the Gita, there is repeated mention of this. Therefore, O Arjun, control the senses first, and thereby kill the sinful propensity to desire, which destroys one's knowledge and realization. Even if a single organ remains uncontrolled, all austerities, all efforts after spirituality become useless, even as when there is a single hole in a pitcher, all the water escapes through that. You know the parable where Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of the peasant irrigating his field. All the water escaped through the chink on the ground, and not a drop of water reached the field. Even the craving for the sense objects leaves an aspirant when he realizes the Lord. Control of the senses is not to be brought about by violent efforts. Only by realizing Him it is perfectly achieved. But at first, one must struggle for the end. These teachings of Swami Chidananda are in fact the most lucid commentary on the Bhagavad Gita verse mentioned earlier. From the above advice by Swami Chidananda, it is clear that we cannot overcome anger in isolation from desire, greed, etc. Using a modern phrase, a package deal is necessary. The task of overcoming anger is handled effectively when we have taken up the challenges of overcoming the other passions. It might be thought that we started with one problem on hand, how to overcome anger, but now we are asked to solve more. However, by ignoring the existing ramifications of a problem and by only holding on to its partial understanding, we are not making its solution easy. By understanding the problem in a correct perspective, we embark on a more comprehensive self-improvement process. Once we understand the root of the problem, this self-transformation can be effected and total regeneration will be brought about. When by following the disciplines, spiritual practices, sattva constantly prevails in one's nature, one transcends anger. No other method of overcoming anger can be surer than this. So, develop sattva quality, sattva quality. You know there is three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva is the greatest friend. It takes you very near God. Through sattva, you can really overcome anger. So develop the quality of sattva by practicing discipline, by cultivating patience, being compassionate, kind, always giving, not hankering after the things of the world, always trying to remember God in the heart. These are the ways to overcome the most dreadful enemy, anger residing in everyone's heart, trying to devour us in our careless moments. We should be very careful, more careful, most careful in dealing with this dreadful enemy, anger. Page 844. Sri Ramakrishna said to the Vaishnava, "Stop that sizzling noise. When butter containing water is heated over a fire, it makes that sound. If a man but once tastes the joy of God, his desire to argue takes wing. The bee, realizing the joy of sipping honey, doesn't buzz about any more. What will you achieve by quoting from books? The Pandits recite verses and do nothing else. What will you gain by merely repeating Siddhi, Siddhi? You will not be intoxicated even by gargling with a solution of Siddhi. It must go into your stomach, not until then will you be intoxicated. One cannot comprehend what I am saying unless one prays to God in solitude, all by oneself, with a longing heart." Dr. Rakhal arrived to examine Sri Ramakrishna. The master said to him eagerly, "Come in and sit down." The conversation with the Vaishnava continued. Master said, "Man should possess dignity and alertness. Only he whose spiritual consciousness is awakened possesses this dignity and alertness and can be called a man. Futile is the human birth without the awakening of spiritual consciousness." There are many men at Kamarpukkot with big bellies and imposing mustaches. Yet the villagers go with palanquins and bring righteous and truthful persons from 20 miles away to arbitrate their quarrels. They do not bring mere pandits. Truthfulness is the tapasya of the Kali Yuga. Truthfulness, submission to God, and looking on the wives of other men as one's own mother, these are the means to realize God. Like a child, Sri Ramakrishna said to a physician, "Sir, please cure my throat." Doctor, "Do you ask me to cure you?" Master said, "The physician is Narayana himself. I honor everybody. You may say that if I look on all as Narayan, then I should keep quiet. But I also accept the words of the Mahut Narayan. The pure mind and the pure Atman are one and the same thing. Whatever comes up in the pure mind is the voice of God alone. God alone is the Mahut Narayan. Why should I not listen to God? He alone is the master. As long as he keeps eye consciousness in me, I shall obey his orders." The doctor was going to examine Sri Ramakrishna's throat. The master said, "Dr. Mahendra Sarkar passed my tongue. Dr. Mahendra Sarkar pressed my tongue the way they press a cow's." Like a child, Sri Ramakrishna said to the physician, pulling at his shirt sleeves again and again, "Sir, my dear sir, please cure my throat." Looking at the laryngoscope, he said with a smile, "I know it. You will see the reflection in it." Naren sang, but on account of the master's illness, there was not much music. So stop here. Any questions about controlling the anger? Everybody has to find out himself or herself to deal with the enemy, anger. So don't make it powerful and then try to control it. That's the thing we should always remember. Nip in the bud. So don't allow the anger to rise up. When you feel that situation is going out of control, quietly you must get away from the situation and try to change your mood. That's very important. So one has to be really very cautious about his nature. Recently I read a news in the internet, very, very bad news, I should say. There was a family, father and a daughter, and they had a servant who would come to help in their household activities. Somehow this young girl fell in love with that person who was coming to the home to do service. One fine day he took her away from her home. In course of time she became pregnant. 6 months old baby, 6 months already gone. Baby is already making its presence in the woman's body. But then she felt she should see his father. She felt she should see her father, which she should not have done. So she came, but this fellow had become so angry. He forgot that girl was his own daughter. Can you imagine how the anger drags to such a brutal treatment? Coming to know that the daughter is coming to his home, he hired butchers and two or three accomplices. He paid them money. He instructed them to kill, to behead her head. And they said, and the father, when she came, the father told her, look, get abortion. And so they board a train, and these people, butchers, were hiding in a place. Immediately they pounced upon her, beat her severely, tied her hands, and then she is crying and crying to her father to save her. But the father himself had given money, had engaged these butchers. With one stroke with a sword, they simply removed her head. See the brutal death. It is not a story. Things happen. We have read it in so many stories in Puranas. We think, is it ever possible that stories do really happen? See this story. Can you imagine it will happen? Father killing the daughter. He could have abandoned her. Please go and live in your own way. Finished. Why should he kill? That's how person commits crime, heinous crime, most dangerous and brutal crime they commit. And they are inviting suffering through that action. How much that person has to suffer because of that action, nobody can say. Nobody can say. The intensity of suffering that person should have to undergo, who can say? Who can escape from the bad deed? Good, good, bad, bad. Everyone has to reap the result. So one has to be careful and watchful, otherwise one is totally destroyed. That's the important point everybody should remember, particularly when you are aspiring for spiritual path. You become aware of all these things. Why there is so much of disharmony, so much of hatred, so much of killing all over the world? Anger, root cause. The anger that causes war between nations, all sorts of things, revengeful actions. Pratikara manobhavana. Anger creates that. Revengeful action. Mahabharata is the story of Mahabharata is the full of revenges, beginning to end. So let us study gospel and follow the spiritual instructions given by Sri Ramakrishna. How nicely he has given through parables, through extremely simple words, but full of significant meaning. That's all what I should say. That's Vijnana. Very good. No question means you have all accepted what I have said. Thank you. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. Own name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy. How huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust or the ties of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. How I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though with tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest thy hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased, he being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.